Hello and welcome to Apex Racing TV and the World F3 Championship here at Nurburgring. We are here for the penultimate round of the season. Now Sam Fitzpatrick alongside me is Lee Thompson with Sam Kumar on the cameras this evening. And Lee, coming to the kind of the end of the season now, and got the prospect of potentially a couple of the championships coming to a close, being decided today for that win in the championship. And this Nurburgring circuit also a great venue for this penultimate round of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Evening, everybody. Like you say, Nurburgring GP circuit tonight. Yeah, classic Grand Prix circuit. Obviously missing most of the time, isn't it? Really, from the real F1 schedule with the way of the German GPs are rotating and things. Should be good for these guys around the in the F3. I think it's going to be some tricky curbs in places, but I don't think it's going to be one of those awful ones with bumps all over the place. It's fairly wide, decent size. Give them the opportunity to stretch their legs. Should be good. I'm sure they're super relieved that they're not getting forced to drive around the Nordschleife whilst they're here.
Yes, absolutely. I must say, for me personally, I would quite like to see that go on. We've had in other single-seater series in the past, but not today. Because today using the tight chicane at the end. It's the proper Grand Prix circuit. It's not the Blancpain and WEC circuit. So potentially a good overtaking spot there. We've currently got 6 drivers out on circuit for this qualifying session. Currently, Peter Bayman, the fastest one out of them, and Nicholas Rasmussen currently in second position. And it's good to see, at least today, Lee, despite this small field once again, we've got 4 drivers at the front of the field: Bayman, Rasmussen, Nurburgring and Simpson, all of which you can make a strong claim to having a chance at winning a race today.
Absolutely. Say it's these 4 cars we've seen giving us a decent few races over the last month or so of the World F3 Championship. Like I say, it's looking good out there. Less than just under a second between the 4 cars in qualifying so far, and I dare say Simpson at the back of that group has got a bit of time in hand as well. So yeah, good to see Rasmussen only 2 tenths off Berryman for his fastest lap as well. So that would be great to see him right at the sharp end, not just hanging in there for a podium.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see, Paul Nurburgring, Mr. Consistent in this series, heading down into the chicane. This is the really tight one, which isn't really used that often on iRacing anymore, but negotiates it very successfully. That's a nice exit for him. One more corner to go. He's currently half second off the pace. And got to make sure that he doesn't pick up a 1x on the outside of that corner. Picking up a little bit of slipstream potentially from the Apex Racing UK driver ahead. And in fact, that was just an out lap. So he is now going for a fast lap and actually could use potentially that slipstream from the car head to his advantage on his next attempt in the championship. Of course, we've already talked about how the championship could be decided today. It's not all over. Peter Bayman leading the way by 70 points. I'm not quite sure if that's including the job week or not, unfortunately. We've then got Nicholas Rasmussen in third, ahead of Kevin Ellis, who isn't here today. There's Alex Simpson and Miles Clotesley rounding out the top 6. So, if that does include the job week, then Ilbrink's really got a decent chance here, and he's going to push Bayman right to the right to the limit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, it is there is opportunity still in there for Ilbrink, I believe. I was following a little bit of a chat earlier on. Let me remind myself as to what they think the points are ending up being. He says as he stalls. We believe that if Ilbrink outscores Peter Berryman by 6 points, then that gives Paul the opportunity still to get the championship in the last round. So that's Ilbrink's goal for the evening, outscoring Peter Berryman by 6 points to move it to the final round. If that doesn't happen, then the Apex Racing UK guys or Apex Racing team guys are maybe expecting to have sewn up the championship, I think, this week.
Yeah, certainly in the teams championship, they certainly have that one in the bag. Ilbrink has managed to almost single-handedly be able to climb his team up to second position in that teams championship, moving ahead of the Racing Network only last week with NHR Esports. That's Nicholas Rasmussen's team. Quite a close fourth, so could change a little bit at the top of that championship. Here is Rasmussen currently in second position. So doing well to beat Ilbrink and Simpson. And of course, usually runs slightly different downforce trims to the other drivers. He's very much a driver too in this series, whilst there's potentially some other alliances amongst the other drivers. He's certainly done a very good job so far this season as the 71 driver. And I think this is just an outlap for him currently. And yes, it is. No, well, it's quite a good sector there. At least the Simpson has a big off. Not quite sure how he's done that.
Yeah, whether maybe he just maybe that's just him actually pulling off the track after maybe not quite hooking up the previous corner. I think we're about to find out as he works his way through the sweeping left-hander, switch back to the right, and just ran out of road a little bit. Maybe did he get an off track and then he's just pulled off to the side. Yeah, I think perhaps an off track on the exit of the corner there.
Yeah, not best pleased. There is Alex Simpson, who's only got 2 minutes. So he could actually set another lap time, could Simpson. Here comes Matt Bunn. He's going to set his first time of the session. This will, well, it'll put him up into 5th position on the grid, and it duly does. 4 seconds off the pace, but what you got to remember, of course, is that the other 4 drivers are pro drivers. Peter Bayman, of course, a podium sitter in the World Championship Grand Prix series. Rasmussen has come close several times to qualifying. Ilbink and Simpson also very established drivers in that World Championship series. So it's quite a tough challenge for Matt Bunn, who also drives other cars, of course, drives in the World GT as well for the CQR Club team. Just got one more minute to go as
Ooh.
Bunn has a little bit of an off.
Yeah, and of course Matt Bunn as well, one of the organisers behind this and the World GT series. So, like I say, he's a busy guy. He has his fingers in many different pies. It's unfortunate that we had Josh Rayfield in the practice session leading up to qualifying. He was running some laps, but it looks like perhaps he's decided, or he definitely has. He hasn't got time. He's decided that perhaps he's going to give us a miss. Perhaps he was struggling a little bit. You saw him running off the pace, but yeah, Josh, it's been good to see all season long. So. Unfortunate for him that he isn't going to be running. Peter Berriman's improved his pole position time whilst we've been yapping away. 146.46 now, puts him half a second ahead of Rasmussen in second. So Berriman's really put a marker down. And let's see if Ilbrink has got a chance of trying to get in there. Simpson's in the pits, so he's not going to improve any further. And Ilbrink is green sector 3, but otherwise I'm not really seeing the screens lighting up.
Yeah, nothing too spectacular at the moment from Paul Ilbrink. Could maybe get him into the 146s. He's carrying on this lap, potentially implying that this is a decent time. The checkered flag has
Ooh,
come out, so
purple
the
sector.
yes, good sector 4. Just sector 5 to come up. Really good sector 4, in fact. He was 3 tenths faster than the pole sector just in that sector alone. Maybe running a bit of an extreme setup. What can Paul Ilbrink do? Potential championship winner. Got to the line, it's not quite good enough for a 46. He remains in the 47 zone. Crucially, he remains in 3rd position, but should still be okay. Beating Simpson, who is in the pits. Only Nicholas Rasmussen to put in a time, and his first couple of sectors are very underwhelming. So I doubt he's going to be able to improve.
Yeah, cracking job for Rasmussen though. You know, he's secured that second position over Ilbrink. You know, you wouldn't have perhaps put that order that way round at the start of the session. So he's obviously got the confidence around here. And as you say, maybe going a slightly different direction with setup with his not being maybe led down the sort of the team path with setup so much and experimenting a bit more, perhaps. Who knows? But yeah, good to see. How's the rest of his lap going? Yeah, so he's still there and thereabouts. He's within a tenth or two sort of each sector, but he's not going to find the half second that he needs to jump Berryman. So second position is looking very, very nice for Rasmussen.
Kept going into Coca-Cola Curve. I believe it's still called Coca-Cola Curve.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
track map I've got up has got that listed, so hopefully that's
Awesome.
up to date, along with all the other branding for the rest of the circuit as well, not just
Yes.
Coca-Cola. It's pretty good. I
Yeah,
was quite
so
surprised when I was glancing at it. We got Coca-Cola, Mercedes, Valvoline, Ford, Dunlop, Michelin. Like that's not bad going for one circuit, is it?
yeah, absolutely. As well, Josh April's going to take the grid. Actually, we will go through the grid. Pete Sveiman on pole position ahead of Nicholas Rasmussen. Third place is Paul Ilvik alongside Alex Simpson. And behind that is Bunn and Rayfield rounding out this 6-car field. And good to see Josh Rayfield for Northern Lights Racing GT Omega on the grid. At the moment, not on the grid is Rasmussen and Ilbrink, as Ilbrink just slots his car on now. And just the NHR esports driver of Rasmussen to get onto the grid. We've seen Bayman really dominant so far in the majority of these races this season. Because he can come under a bit of pressure. It's a decent run down into turn one. A lot can happen, as we saw in the Euro V8 Supercar series not too long ago, as Rasmussen takes his place. And we will get the lights on now. Beats Mayman opportunity to round off the championship here. And away we go. Bit of a jump start from Matt Bunn just at the back. But Bayman, really good start, pulls away from the rest of the field. Ilpink might have a chance at Rasmussen going down into turn one. Bayman just slotting his car in the middle of the circuit. Rasmussen still on the inside. Ilpink trying to muscle his way round there. Bunn's got a really good start, almost going ahead of Simpson. But I imagine the Apex Racing UK driver is going to be able to swoop round the outside, which he does so.
Ooh, Bun.
And it takes back that fourth position, but still a little bit of a tricky start for him. So no changes amongst the drivers out there, and a good start for Pete Spayman.
Yeah, Matt Bunn having a sneaky look at Alex Simpson there at the start of a lap. I thought he was going to make a little dive down the inside, but Matt is a bit too sensible for that. Maybe knows that Alex is going to be fighting for positions further forward. But looking like he's keeping pace well. Simpson's dropping off the front three, and Bunn is certainly keeping them honest for now.
Yeah,
Oh, and
absolutely.
Bun
So
into the back. Oh, I thought it was sorry, Sam. I thought it was just going to run into the back of Simpson there as they head into that really, really steeply banked hairpin. What bit of branding have we got on that one? Dunlop curve. So yeah, Bun just about avoiding the back of Simpson there.
yeah, through the Schumacher S there. That's one of the few non-sponsor named corners, and absolutely fantastic naming of that corner, it must be said. Although I don't think Schumacher ever did anything particularly spectacular around that one in particular. So Rasmussen under pressure from Ilbrink, but you can see he's keeping up with Peter Bowman. The gap in qualifying, only about half a second. Slightly different lines, Bowman feeling the confidence to use that curb on the inside through the second apex. And the other drivers not quite so confident, but that might be in the long run a good thing for Rasmussen and Ilbrink. As the Radicals Online driver closes in it with the slipstream, but really not too significant. As Simpson's still struggling to keep tabs. Maybe, well, we saw a similar situation at Donington, didn't we, where Simpson just couldn't quite keep up with everyone else. It turned out they had some damage, but certainly I didn't see any contacts he made on that kind of run to the line.
No, I don't think so. And we saw him under pressure from Matt Bunn very early on. So as you say, I think perhaps Alex, perhaps hasn't done a ton of practice and is just making sure he's keeping it on the track and he's going to get these points. I mean, I bet that's a big part of it. He's not taking any risks at all. If Matt absolutely wants to get past, I dare say Alex will just let him and take fifth place for now. And he just wants to make sure that there's no real team errors in this night's racing. They want to make sure they sew up the championship and make sure it's all secure. But as you say, it's good to see Bun keeping absolutely up with them for now. It's good to see the front three as well. Like you said, they're still hanging in there pretty close together. Ilbrink's dropped off a little bit now, just from Rasmussen. Sorry, he's just dropped back a little bit from Berryman, but still the top three cars are working away nicely. And Ilbrink doesn't look like he's in any real hurry to hustle past Rasmussen. Rasmussen looks good out there still.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be interested to see how much downforce these drivers are using, see whether there are a possibility of any overtakes down the straights, or whether Rasmussen is just a little bit too slick through the air, bit wide. And you can see just a small mistake like that, just taking a slightly different line, and all of a sudden he's under big pressure. Again, Ilvink taking a slightly later turn and trying to square off the corner that bit more. And he is dragging himself a little bit closer, half a second between the two of them now. Simpson how much slower was he on that lap? Only half a second slow. So to be fair, Matt Payne is doing a superb effort at the moment. He's almost on the pace of these very competitive drivers. So very impressive from him. As actually on that last lap, Bayman set purple sectors in 4 out of the 5 sectors. So he's certainly asserting his dominance up there.
Yeah, like I say, just starting to get into that rhythm now, stretching his legs as Rasmussen one's wide out of Hagen. No, that's turn one. Oh, my corner isn't named on that map that I'm looking at for there. But yeah, Rasmussen running wide, taking that extra. I don't think you even get an off track for that point. So didn't seem to cost him too much. But Ilbrink is for sure a little bit closer now, maybe having a think about where he is going to make this move. I think he knows he's not got the pace of Berryman, who's running, what, 6-7 tenths quicker than these guys battling for that podium position. Bun's had an issue, it looks like, so Simpson's all on his own now. Bun is, 5 seconds further back.
Very close between Rasmussen and Ilbrink. Sorry, just as we pulled away, I think Ilbrink has gone for the overtake and ahead he goes. So, can Rasmussen respond straight away? Usually quite a cautious driver is Rasmussen, or a calculated driver, probably better way of putting it. As he gets right into the slipstream where he looked to the inside, into the chicane. Not much defense put up by Ilbrink, and there's nothing he can do about that because it's such a narrow part of the circuit. Nice response there from Rasmussen. Ilbrink not interested in fighting it. You can see Simpson maybe just starting to close in a little bit himself.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be nice to, when we get a break in the action, to see exactly where that move started to develop from Ilbrink. I'm guessing Rasmussen got a bad exit off the hairpin, but here comes Ilbrink now back into turn one again. Rasmussen, same thing, not defending hard. He's allowing Ilbrink to take the inside line, but tries to sweep round the outside. You can get a decent drive off the outside line there, and then you've got the inside for turn two. Ilbrink trying to hang around the outside. He might be able to do it for this corner, but you think he's going to struggle now for here. But no, sweeps straight round the front on entry, and actually he's going to be in a pretty strong position now as they come out onto the straight. Look how much quicker on the exit Rasmussen is, though, with that wider line. He's going to get up inside. It's going to be tricky as they come through this left-hander now. If they're still side by side, Ilbrink hangs on in there, sweeps around the front. Rasmussen backs out just slightly, and good job from these two, but it's slowing them right up, and all of a sudden we can see Simpson making this almost a three-car battle for P2.
Yeah, absolutely. Superb driving from the pair that we saw fantastic racing between them at Suzuka last time out, with I believe Ilbrink prevailing on both occasions, and Rasmussen wanting to come back there, but these two just have so much respect for each other, as we found out in the post-race interviews. See Rasmussen though, through that part of the circuit, it's just so easy, flat out, that in these F3 cars, just a great opportunity to really get into the slipstream. Always just a complete straight for these drivers. And well, this one is not over yet, like you said. Simpson now only 1 second behind. Butler's had an issue out there,
Hmm.
and Grayfield now inherits 5th position. And yeah, disappointing to see from Bun.
Yeah, shame for Bun. Like I say, in pit lane taking repairs. I'm guessing. I say he was running strong at the start, but perhaps just had a little error, a second little error maybe, or maybe when he first dropped back from Simpson, maybe I was damaged and he's gone to repair that. So we'll find out later on, I'm sure. Is Rasmussen going to be able to close enough as they come up turn one here? See him dip down into the braking zone down the hill, but no, it doesn't dive out this time by Ilbrink. Holds on to that P2. How far back is Simpson now? So Simpson's a second behind Rasmussen, so he's just starting to get a whiff of that toe as well. And again, just a tiny bit more squabbling from the guys in front. And Simpson is going to be right in the hunt. Um, I was going to say about the Schumacher S's that they're just about to work their way through in a moment. It's not quite the classic corner like the Senna S. So I feel like maybe Schumacher is a little bit hard done by there with his allocation of corner.
Yes, perhaps so. Can't really think of many great
Yeah, go on then. Let's reel them off.
German sections
Well, go
where,
on. What
where
about F1 driver named corners in general? So
ooh,
Senna S. What else we got?
Mansell, Bentouch. Wait,
Brand.
was that?
No,
Wait, no,
what?
am I
No,
thinking
no, no, no.
Mansell? I'm
Graham
thinking
Hill.
Graham Hill, Bent.
Graham Hill Bend. Yeah,
Apologies, yes.
just after Druids. Yeah, good one.
Um,
Barry Sheen curve out the back of Brands Hatch. I guess that kind of counts.
yeah.
Where else?
Um, Oh
Help us
dear.
out, viewers. I'm looking at YouTube chat. I want. It doesn't have to be F1 driver, I guess. Driver names of corner circuits. That
Was
would be
was
helpful.
Bill
Thanks.
Hill a driver here in America?
Ooh,
I'm saying
sounds
that
like
he
it must
was.
be. Yeah, yeah.
Anthony Noakes, was he a driver?
Not one I've heard of again, I'm afraid.
Find a corner at Monaco. I think he may have just been the guy who organised it for a few years, but no. Good, yeah, good opportunity, good question, undoubtedly.
Yeah, I feel like I think we're out now. We've got no help from chat either. So perhaps that's we hit our limit already after just what 2 or 3. Ilbrink and Rasmussen still looking pretty close. Ilbrink was under a little bit of pressure into turn 1 there, but again, not really enough to defend. Since I last looked at Simpson, where is he now? Dropped 6 tenths, dropped 5 tenths back. So yeah, he needs this bit of squabbling from Ilbrink and Rasmussen to really pull him into the battle.
Yeah, he just seems to be lacking a little bit of pace. These guys can do mid 47s, whereas Simpson's ultimate pace seems to be high 47s, so they are going to naturally ebb away. So Rasmussen decided to lose that toe. It takes effect about 6 tenths of a second behind the other driver, we think. We've watched what, about 10 of these races, I think, so far this
Hmm.
season. So, half know what we're talking about. Well, I certainly ought to. Lee, you only came into the series
Yeah, that's my
halfway through.
excuse.
Yes. Track temperature out there. I've seen it quite prominent so far this season. For some sort of reason, the race organisers, Matt Bunn, obviously,
Mhm.
seems to love the warmer conditions. Maybe that's
Who
why
doesn't?
he's crashed out right now. Um, and track only 23 degrees, 18 degrees Celsius, as Josh Rayfield has a bit of an incident. I remember 2011. I believe it was like 11 degrees for pretty much the whole F1 weekend. And well, that was a great race. I
Yeah,
must
it
say, I
just
don't know.
sounds like pre-season testing, doesn't it? Them running in those sort of temperatures.
Yes, yeah, when it was snowing last year, of course. I didn't even know it snowed in Spain, I must say, apart from, like, the hilly bits. But
Yeah,
no.
I wonder how much of a surprise that was for the locals. It certainly seemed to be for the organisers for sure, didn't it? Berryman well into the 46s now, by the way. So yeah, he's just continuing to push on. How far down the road is he now? 5.8 up on Ilbrink. And it looks like Rasmussen's just dropped back slightly from Ilbrink as well. So Paul's got a little bit of breathing space just to solidify that second position, almost up to a second for Rasmussen. So which way round was that? It was a quick lap from Ilbrink rather than a slow lap from Rasmussen. I think personal best for Ilbrink last time by, and Rasmussen was only a couple of hundreds off his own personal best. So yeah, I think Ilbrink just stepped up the pace a little bit, and Rasmussen hasn't really got anything to respond.
Yeah, so yeah, very good lap time there from Ilving, taking it a step forwards. Just looking, I thought that Nicky Lauda had had a corner named after him at the Red
Good one.
Bull Ring, but then I thought actually he doesn't. But Jochen Rindt, of course, the 1970 F1 champion, does. Not a corner. There is called Rindt, but that's the only one. To be fair, A1 ring only has, I call it A1 ring actually, but Red Bull ring only has about 5 corners, so there's not really much of an opportunity to name them after various drivers. But there you go, Rindt corner.
Well, here we go. YouTube chat finally coming to the
Hooray!
front then. So thank you, Michael Evdoka. So yeah, Senna, we said. Couldn't have told you he had also had corner names at Montreal and Hockenheim, but there we go. Not only in Interlagos. Ascari, how did we not get Ascari at Monza?
Oh, of
It's Sam, you
course.
let him side down. Uh, Albert Park has Niki Lauda. Okay, interesting. Jim Clark, Albert Park again, Hockenheim. Yeah, I can't think of which those ones are going to be. Albert Park is taking the Nurburgring school of naming from the looks of it. They're covered with driver names of corners apparently. Yeah, see that list, Michael. You got Graham Hill, but you don't have Brantach in brackets there. So I think we can add Graham Hill Ben to that one. But yeah, Albert Park absolutely killing it for
Yeah.
driver names. Villeneuve at Imola, of course, as well. Gilles Villeneuve, rather than the Jacques variety.
Yes. Yeah, of course. And of course, Villeneuve also has a track named after him, which,
Oh yeah,
well,
there we go. He
that's
wins.
yes.
I feel like he takes victory over everybody else in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what this currency is of how many corners is worth
I
a
mean,
track, but he wins definitely.
of course, Interlagos is named after a historic Brazilian driver, right? I forget the name,
Yes,
but
Jose.
Yeah,
Jose
Jimenez
Carlos
Rodriguez.
Pace? Or
Yeah, Jimenez Rodriguez, maybe? Oh, no, that's just a corner name, sorry.
yeah,
Or, yeah,
Juan Carlos Pace, I believe it was.
that's the one. That's the one.
Um, and yeah, so no, I can't think of any other certainly recent circuits. I feel like I don't know if there are any Finnish tracks. I feel like Kimi Räikkönen is almost certainly going to have a track named after him. Personally, I don't know any other Finnish people, so he well, apart from of course the man who's our cameraman, but no offense to Sam, I don't think he quite warrants a track named
Mhm.
after him quite yet.
Not
But
yet, no.
Kimi or
I got another one, Surtees at Brands. How did I not get? I was listed off the
of
Brands Hatch
course.
one, Surtees as well. Yeah.
It's very difficult to think of these whilst commentating at the same time, must admit. But we are now 15 minutes into this race, halfway through race one. Race two will be of equal length. And yeah, of course, will be a reverse grid as well. And will be a
Yep.
full reverse grid
Full, yeah.
as well. Matt Bunn, well, he is this, you remember, he will be setting the session up. So if he feels like it, he will put himself on pole position. But I feel as though he's got a
Mhm.
bit more integrity than that, I must say. And I imagine it'll be Josh Rayfield instead on pole position. Although Rayfield is about half a lap behind Bayman, seeing that we're halfway through the race, there's a possibility that he could be lapped and therefore not be eligible for that reverse grid. But certainly, if he stays error free, he should be okay from that. You can see these three kind of just pulling away from each other ever so slightly. 1.8 seconds between Ilbrink and Rasmussen, 1.8 seconds between Rasmussen and Simpson. So certainly at the moment, the battle's very much calming down at yeah, at this point in the race.
Yeah, like I say, all just fizzling out a little bit, I'm afraid. Like I say, it was good to see Rasmussen and being able to keep Ilbring behind him for a decent section of the first half of the race, really, wasn't it? Probably only a few minutes ago. So yeah, first half of the race did a decent job, but now, like I say, it's just all they're all just sorting themselves out into their real pace order, unfortunately. Simpson, yeah, not able to run at Rasmussen's pace either, so he's dropped back a further second since I last had a look. Good to see Josh is still continuing round, actually putting in like pretty consistent sort of lap times. Really, his last lap was only 2 3/10 off his personal best, so he is keeping that consistency up. As I saw, PB in fact in the very last sector. So as you say, it's they're all just stringing out that little bit, but what we haven't seen maybe so much is any real unforced errors. I mean, that's been a theme of the last 2 3 rounds for sure of World F3s. We've just seen drivers just struggling to hang on to these cars, even if they're not under big pressure, and actually touch wood for them. They've pretty much all been keeping it on track so far.
Yeah, doing a very good job at the moment, particularly at Silverstone comes to mind for me, where we saw over half the grid having a spin or a crash at some point in the race, else with over 40-degree track temperatures, and both races were absolute anarchy in terms of the driving from top drivers, of course, and yet they were still yeah, coming to blows with this car, which well, we've already talked about perhaps the not so good sides of this car, which maybe is partly due to the participation in this series dropping slightly, but it was certainly still worth the effort to put together the series when we did have some fantastic rounds earlier on. Of course, we've still got a championship to decide, and even in these most recent rounds, we have seen some superb racing, as we saw from Ilbrink and Rasmussen, of course, earlier on in this race. Any other cars that you'd like to see more often on Apex Racing TV, perhaps Lee, which ought to get their chance in the spotlight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm generally a single seater man, so I'd love to see a bit more. I don't know what the state of the car is like at the minute, but ignoring my kind of lack of knowledge if a particular car is broken or anything. I'd love to see the Formula 2 cars a bit more, the 2.0s, rather not Formula 2, Renault Formula 2.0. Yeah, those are cracking fun to drive, and you get some awesome racing again. GT style stuff. I struggle a little bit with the longer races. It's good to see some tactical play with fuel and tires and strategy, but ultimately, especially to commentate on, I'm just looking for action packed races, and single seaters I find generally will fit that bill. And then of course you go to the other extreme, and you could look at something like the MX5s and the Kias that we see on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursday nights for the Kias. And obviously you get some cracking racing there. But yeah, a bit of Formula Renault that'll do me nicely to see a bit more on Apex.
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, my favorite car in the whole game is, or the game, the sim, whatever, is the Corvette C7 Daytona prototype. Absolutely
Hmm.
superb car. Don't know if you've raced it in any kind of special events or
No, I
anything.
think I'm sure I've physically jumped in it at some point. I've not put any real time into it, but I did put a decent amount of time into the original Daytona prototype. Was it the I've forgotten the Riley? Was it the
Riley,
normal
yeah,
one?
yeah.
Yeah. So I've done Daytona. Well, back when it was a Daytona 2.4 rather than 24 hour now. So I've run the DP a few times, and that was that category of car for sure is lots of fun. I mean, the Daytona 2.4. I'm just going to interrupt for a sec. Nicholas Rasmussen all of a sudden onto the back of Paul Ilbrink. So Ilbrink 48.08 last time by had a error somewhere in the lap, and all of a sudden Rasmussen's getting a little bit of a sniff of things there. So that is good to see. Thank you very much for the YouTube subscription we just had come through as well. That's very kind. Thank you very much, Dave Bolland.
Yes, absolutely, and make sure that you also like the Facebook page as well, and also our Twitch channel, and our Instagram account, and yeah, also of course the video as well as yeah, Paul Ilbrink. You're absolutely right, coming under some more pressure. Very odd to see that really, because Ilbrink he lost about half second in the final sector of the last lap, but it's not really why he was under pressure. He built the gap over 2 seconds, and across the line it was about 6/10 of a second. So it wasn't all down to that, just having a couple of slower lap times. Rasmussen improving his pace slightly, but not too significantly. Simpson very much dropping off these guys now 5 seconds behind, with Bayman now 10 seconds out in the lead. Still in the 46, is still absolutely dominating out there. We have seen mistakes from Bayman so far this season, occasionally dropping a wheel onto the grass. That seemed to be his kryptonite back in Donington, certainly.
Ooh, Ilbrink.
Yeah,
Really
taking a bit of curb.
clattering that second apex. Yeah, he had a big kick of oversteer as a result of that as he tried to get the power on, and I thought he was really gonna struggle there, but he managed to keep it on. And to be fair, Rasmussen didn't have a much cleaner corner behind him as well. So yeah, both pushing hard. So that's good to see. And we
Michael
got
Dockett.
the sorry, just to interrupt, Sam. We got the subscriptions flooding in now. As soon as that one comes up on screen, everyone goes, "Oh, great! I'll get on screen." So thanks very lot to Nick Kantarakis and to a code name as well, H4X4D3. Thanks very much for the subscriptions. That's not bad. We've got 3 subscribers, and YouTube says we have 7 people watching. So that's a damn good hit ratio, I'd say.
Absolutely. I I don't know if it would work, but could I unsubscribe and then resubscribe and get my name and just do that over and
Hmm.
over again?
You could test it out if you really want, but Samuli's got a special button to bring your name up anyway, so I feel like that's maybe
Oh,
not
really?
necessary for
Wow.
you.
I feel as though commentating on it anyway. I think that's famous as I'll be on the channel. As Michael Abdoka suggested, a 911 GT3 non-pro um,
Yep.
league,
So that's
perhaps.
the cup car, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely
cup
great,
car's
great
great.
car. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I say I love it. I don't do much driving on iRacing anymore, unfortunately. But when I have done, yeah, I've enjoyed it, and it's relatively straightforward to even just run with sort of default sort of setups as well. And I was running pretty strong when I went through a season. I think of taking it reasonably seriously. Good fun car. Yeah, if you can get the feeling on it, then then the back end is just lovely. You can really feel the change of direction that you can just control with a throttle pedal, and it's great fun. Michael Evdokas, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to point this out. Michael Evdokas, how were you not already subscribed to Apex Racing TV on YouTube? That is,
Ah, shocking.
you may have to unsubscribe because I'm so unhappy that it's taken you this long to subscribe.
Because, yeah, Michael, an often driver in the UOV8 Supercar Series, of course, Season 4 champion of the UOV8 Supercar Series, and aiming for the Season 6 title as well. Fortunately, that's not on this weekend. It was on last weekend, so I do recommend watching it back. It was Super Sprints at Sonoma, which was very good. Great fun, that. Of course, if we're seeking any corners named after racing drivers,
Oh,
America
yeah, back on
certainly
it.
isn't the place to go.
Oh, where
And
was that? Sorry.
America just isn't the place to go with their
No, no.
silly 11A, 11B corner names. Of
And
course,
Road America turn
oh,
5 after 2 corners, and yeah.
horrendous. Of course, anyone who's followed the Apex Racing TV Facebook page will know our hatred of that corner naming system. And naming corners properly, not after numbers, is just it's the most commonsensical thing of all time, really. Just sell the corners even to companies even around here. It's better than actually numbering them because well, what is a corner and what isn't a corner? Is this two corners that Nicholas Jefferson is going through, or is it just the one? Nobody knows.
It's 2 corners. Well, see, you're right. If you named it, it's 1 corner, clearly.
Yeah,
But if you're numbering it, it's got to be 2, surely.
but
1 for
should
each
that be
apex.
like 11A, 11B?
No, 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 no.
No, you don't.
That's just silly American stuff, like you say. Unless, I'd let them off. They can put 11A if turn 11 was built and then there was turn 12, and then at a later date they snuck in corner 11A. That's fine. Do you know what I mean? They built it at a later time, revision on
Okay,
circuit,
yeah, that's understandable. Yeah,
like a motorway junction style. That'll be fine.
yeah. Okay. Also, of course, China we're heading to in the
Yep.
Formula One on Friday, and that has one of the worst non-corner, which is called a corner, I believe, as I frantically think it's something like turn 18. It's the
hmm
corner after the hairpin. So you got the hairpin, and then you got like a tiny kink after
Like
the
right
hairpin.
at the end of a lap, like the second to last corner. That hairpin. No, wait, that's not hairpin. Which one do you mean?
Yeah, at the end of the lap, of course you got the 90-degree corner, and then before that you got the hairpin. And somehow there's a corner. You'll have to Google it yourself, I think,
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm
to
on it.
just appreciate um, the, uh, the lack of corner or the presence of corner, either way. And yeah, absolutely terrible. Not sure if they
Oh
have
yeah, turn 15. Is that
turn
what you said?
15. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. That is
That's
just
bad.
somebody couldn't like keep their ruler straight type of corner, isn't it? That's
No.
not even. Yeah, yeah. I agree. 15 corners on that circuit. But China, though, should be good, right? We had a good race at where were we? Bahrain. It was
Yep.
good at Bahrain, so I'm looking
Great
forward to
race.
China as well. They're expecting. I think I read that they're expecting to break the if there's a clean race or whatever. I guess they're expecting to break the record for numbers of overtakes in a race at China because drivers, I think, generally were pretty
Oh,
happy.
Josh
Oh, there
Feels
we
had
go,
off.
Josh, right in front of the leader. In fact, that was Peter Berriman who went past. Peter Berriman, heart in mouth moment as Josh valiantly continuing on has a split in front of him. So let's have a look at the onboard. Turning oversteer initially corrects it, so maybe now the rear tyres are a little bit warm. Into the next corner, turns in, down 2 gears, and really just locks up the start. So yeah, so that started, I would say, at the corner before just by overheating those tyres ever so slightly with a little bit of an oversteer moment. But what we need to get back to our more important conversation
Yeah.
as opposed to the racing.
Go
Where
on
were
this
we? Yeah,
tangent.
China's supposed to be. Yeah, they're expecting a good race, right? Because it's the drivers are reporting that following was much easier. China's always been strong for overtaking, so yeah, fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Yeah, the new air rules, very good news. I don't know if you saw the Ross Brawn interview the other week, but apparently they're talking of bringing down the turbulent air effects from losing 50% of the downforce you have. I think that was like last year. I think now it's about 40%. Apparently
hmm
by 2021 they're going to bring it down to 5%, just by absolutely taking away any aero kind of dependency and making it very much kind of ground effects instead. And well, that could be a big improvement. Of course, will make DRS redundant, and
Mm.
would be a fantastic step. However, it does beg the question: what have they been doing for the last 25 years, which have got us to this point? Certainly, the rules they wrote for 2017 with these much wider cars, much more faster, aerodynamic cars, and well, it's quite incredible how they didn't see this kind of crisis that we're currently in with the turbulent air, but certainly, yeah, DRS negating that somewhat, and at least the fact that you can overtake now opens up some strategies because rather than taking a two-stop strategy and getting stuck behind a driver and not being able to use your fresh tires, at least you'll be able to storm through to potentially go win the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the general consensus was that DRS was a little bit overpowered at Bahrain. I seem to recall the sort of feedback being so. Hopefully, that's not too sort of joke like in China. But yeah, be good to get rid of that sort of stuff. I mean, what a sublime decision by whoever it was at Liberty to whack Ross Brawn in as
Oh,
head
absolutely.
of rules and whatever his official title is, technical director type of thing. You couldn't think of anyone else. Him and sort of Pat Simmons and those sort of people. You couldn't really think of anyone else better. So really hoping that, so like you say, what Ross obviously sees as his vision. One, the teams agree to enough without putting up too much of a fight, and the initial noises sound pretty positive. And two, let's hope it works out. Of course, oh, I hear contact behind, but nobody instantly falling down the order or anything. Peter Behrman crossing the line for a pretty lonely, last three quarters of a race, winning by 12 seconds as he comes over the line, lights the flag of victory, and fastest lap of race on the final lap, just to rub it in as well. Paul Ilbrink comes over the line in second. He yeah, say 12 seconds back, 4 seconds then to Rasmussen. Yeah, good job from Rasmussen running pretty much at Ilbrink's pace all race long. Josh does bring it home a lap down as well. And then Alex Simpson coming back a few seconds back as well, cruising around to the line. So, yeah, first, 5 minutes, 7 minutes? Yeah, look good. Good race. Bit of something to talk about. And then unfortunately, it's just a lack of cars and just didn't keep us engaged for the rest of the race, but reverse grid next time round, and that would be good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Should yeah, mix up the order a little bit. Certainly at the start, and you're absolutely right. The first, so probably first kind of 10 minutes, were very good out there, and then did calm down a little bit. But hopefully, maybe if one of the front runners has a bit of an issue, we could see them making a comeback drive in race two. Of course, no reverse wheel, so we'll go, of course, straight to the results. And here's Peter Bowman, of course, taking yet another race victory and crucially stepping one step closer, that was badly said, to that championship trophy. Paul Elbing, his main championship rival in the end, managed to get past Nicholas Rasmussen to finish in second place. Rasmussen kept him honest in third. Simpson really struggled out there in fourth, but will be on reverse grid pole because Josh Rayfield crucially finished over a lap down, and Matt Bunn unfortunately retired from the race. So like I said, no reverse grid. It's going to be a full reverse grid for race 2 of the evening. Hopefully you will not miss it. We'll be back in about 20 minutes time.
Hi there, I'm Richard Jobling, Senior Software Engineer here at iRacing. I'd like to show you some of the work that we've been doing to improve the collision and the damage in our sim. One of the major changes we've made is how our collision systems work. The old system stored the track as parametric surfaces, and the cars were made of collections of spheres. As the cars moved around the track, we would recompute planes using the track surfaces, and then test those against the spheres. This worked well for spheres, but was too specialised to adapt to our shapes. So for the new system, we've built new high-resolution meshes for each track. This is more efficient and gives us a lot more flexibility for the car shapes. The new mesh incorporates all the track features our guys work so hard to replicate. Things like curb geometry and changes in the surface material are all baked into the mesh. We've also taken our laser scan data and applied that to the mesh. And since the mesh is so high resolution, we capture all the detail that's necessary so that the tracks are just like the real thing. With our new mesh, we can now represent cars using smooth, convex hulls which grouped together form the chassis, the bodywork, and all the other parts of the car. The new shapes are a much closer fit to the shape of the real car. During impacts, the shapes can deform according to the damage, and eventually they can break off as separate objects. All the parts, like wings, hoods, and wheels, can also hang from their joints, flapping and vibrating until they eventually snap off. All these changes are going to add a whole new level of realism to our races. If you want to find out more, please visit iRacing.com and check out my blog post for lots more details.
Hi, my name is Greg Hill. I'm the Vice President of Art and Production here at iRacing. This damage project that we've been discussing is certainly a project that involved all hands on deck to pull off. We've got a rather sizable number of cars in our portfolio, and not all of these cars have been built with this dynamic damage system in mind. So what we had to do is one by one go through our race cars, and we had a team of 3 artists, a highly technical modeler, our technical art director, and our associate art director. All took on each car one at a time, and the work involved was researching that car, researching what would happen to that car if it were in a crash, depending on the forces involved in the crash, how severely it would be damaged, what parts might come off, what those pieces might look like when they're removed, what it would look like where the car has areas exposed that were previously covered by bodywork. So they had to do a lot of modeling to each race car, and they had to do a lot of work to essentially set up how the car would react to forces. So essentially setting the strength of the materials. What kind of force would it take to rip off the side pod, for example? Or under what circumstances would this nose cone get ripped off of a car? Or under which would it remain, but just be badly damaged? But all said, it's been a lot of work, but seeing the car models interact with the physics system and the new crash dynamics is really exciting and really cool to see, and definitely makes all that hard work worth it.
Hi, my name is Jose Diaz. I'm a visual effects artist at iRacing. I specialize in particle effects ranging from fireworks to water fountains, debris, crash, impacts, all in the service of improving the driving experience. So you have the main sort of new damage model that Richard's been working on. So that takes into consideration all the mounts and the chassis from the cars and which materials they are. And he's making all the calculations that tell you, like, okay, it got hit from this one side and the strength of that impact is this certain amount of values. If you hit something, that means that this mount gets off, something breaks. This gets added on top of that to sort of complement what is happening there with things that you would see in real life when a car crashes. So typically in a car crash, you will see all these little particles of dust, metal, scratches that will take all that force and momentum and kind of explode in a way. And it's all being driven by how fast the car was coming, how hard the impact was against what. That will give you that sense of like, man, that person really crashed hard, or oh, it was just a small bump.
Hi, my name is Chris Lurch. I'm one of the vehicle dynamicists here at iRacing. Our role in the collision project is to tune the collision properties of each and every car to ensure that they behave in wrecks as a real car would. And we've spent quite a bit of time going through literature from the automotive industry on the subject to make sure that we have panels that deform the way they're supposed to, both temporarily and permanently, that pieces that don't deform but rather just break at appropriate times in appropriate ways. The cars are absorbing energy the way they should and aren't sort of bouncing off the walls in crazy ways. The major properties that we look at are stiffnesses, which is how much a piece of the car deforms when a load is applied to it. And then we look at a couple of limits. One is the force limit beyond which the piece deforms permanently. And then the second limit that we look at is the brake limit. the force limit beyond which the piece will simply break. And then we also will look at damping, which is how much the piece absorbs energy versus how much it takes like a spring and can absorb as potential energy and then rebound back out like a basketball would.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome back to the World F3 Championship live on Apex Racing TV. Once again, I am Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me is Lee Thompson with Sam Kumo also on the cameras. And we are just wrapping up for race 2 of the evening. And race 1, Lee, was a decent affair. The first 10 minutes in particular were good, and this reverse grid should spice up the action a little bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. It should be looking good. So there wasn't a huge amount of pace difference between Ilbrink, Rasmussen and Berryman for majority of races. Just as the laps went on, those gaps gradually increased. So it'd be interesting to see how quickly, or not as the case may be, Berryman, for instance, can get past Rasmussen and Ilbrink as to what sort of race we're going to get. So hopefully, as you say, we could see some good racing. It's obviously a good circuit for it. There's overtaking opportunities. There's a couple of decent straights to give the opportunity for a bit of a run. The toe is strong in this car, so as long as it's not too easy for the guys to just sweep straight past, then yeah, there's some opportunity for good battling, I reckon. And we saw with Ilbrink and Rasmussen as well, there's good opportunity for it to and fro as well. You overtake and then get overtaken back, and that can go back and forth a few times. So as the lights are getting ready, here's keeping our fingers crossed.
Here we go, Josh Rayfield couldn't take the start, so it's going to be Alex Simpson on the pole position. And away we go for race 2 at the Nurburgring. And Simpson gets a good start. Ilbrink once again solid off the start. And Bayman as well strong. It's going to be really close between those two going into turn 1. Ilbrink almost going into Simpson there. But Ilbrink just about pulling ahead. Rasmussen getting shoved out a little bit. And pulls ahead, does the Radicals Online driver. It's the NHR esports driver Rasmussen trying to come back though down into turn 3. These two seem to always be side by side in every race. And Rasmussen might just pull ahead. A spinning round though and almost took out Ilbrink, almost took out Bayman. In the end, he even stopped taking out himself. He's only lost about a second, but not a good start for Rasmussen.
Yeah, I thought Berryman was in serious trouble with every camera angle I was looking at. I thought there wasn't anywhere for Berryman to go, but fortunately, the camera just foreshortened the distance a little bit. Josh Rayfield has taken to the track as well, so that's good. So he can get some laps in. But yeah, a little frantic start for the top 4 as well. Simpson, Ilbrink, Berryman, then Rasmussen. Like I say, shame for Rasmussen having that issue, but he's only second off the back of Berryman.
Yeah, and could well come back later on. Bayman was very close to the back of Ilbrink, just dropping back a little bit now.
Oh, and we forgot to say as well, Alex Simpson came into commentary booth just in the break and informed us that he was struggling with issues with his steering wheel, unable to change gears reliably. I think sounded like the problem. So that may have explained his pace in the last race. At the minute, he's looking good. So whether he's got that fixed or whether it's going to intermittently sort of come and go during the race, we'll see. But yeah, we may see Simpson just struggling a little bit as we go through.
I'm sure if he drops down, then I'm sure that will be due to the steering wheel faults, and if not, he'll be working absolutely perfectly. I'm sure Alex wouldn't be like that whatsoever, but he is 0.6 of a second still ahead of Paul Ilbrink. And yeah, decent pace on that opening that for Simpson. They haven't really failing to put up too much of an impression so far. The track still 24 degrees, so it really cooled down in that first race. Actually, it got down to about 19 degrees as it became a bit overcast near the end. Now it's a little bit later in the afternoon, and a little bit less cloud as well, so up to 24 degrees, but really not an issue for these drivers whatsoever. Should be very comfortable out there with the grip they have available. And at the moment, just lining up quite nicely. This one, Rasmussen himself actually closing in a little bit on the top 3, who are very much just maintaining the status quo.
Yeah, nice to see as well. Looking at the timing screens from SDK Gaming, each of the top 4 runners have all got a purple sector each, so that's very nice. Simpson has got the glory of having 2 of those purple sectors, but yeah, every in fact, Berryman actually, sorry, I misread it. Berryman actually, arguably the fastest driver on the track, didn't have a purple sector until right this very second.
Yeah, and that's really enabled him to get right close to the back of Paul Ilbrink, as uses the slipstream now down into the chicane. This is where we saw Rasmussen being able to get past Ilbrink before, or maybe the other way around, apologies. No, it was Rasmussen getting past Ilbrink, I believe. And Ilbrink this time seemingly okay, but Bayman really strong on the exit. He'll look to the inside into
Ooh.
Coca-Cola curve they go. Ilbrink will try to stick it around the outside. He might have a better exit, but it's going to be dead level, and this is a proper drag race now. Only half a tenth of a second splits in there. Ilbrink currently just ahead. Is Bayman going to be able to respond here? They're still dead level, nothing between themselves with their straight line speed. And Ilbrink once again confident to go around the outside. He wants to carry as much speed as possible inside for second corner. And this time, just squeezing him ever so slightly a bit more is Peter Bayman. Does the swap and to defend his position. And Ilbrink is going to do well to be able to respond to that one. Nice move there from Peter Bayman, which, well, is important in the championship. Ilbrink has to beat him by a few positions. Bayman really has to finish in 4th position, I believe, with Ilbrink winning. And, well, that certainly doesn't look to be the case right now.
Yeah, it was good overtake, as you said, from Berryman. It was super fair from Ilbrink around the Coca-Cola curve. He gave him a lot of space, probably more than he really needed to. But yeah, these guys aren't really taking too many risks. They're not gonna really push the limits too hard. It was a cheeky little move from Berryman, wasn't it? You know, that short little run out of the NGK chicane, and there's not really much of a run then to the Coca-Cola curve, and yet he got such a drive off that corner that he managed to nip in front. And as I say, yeah, gave each other plenty of space. That was good to see. Let's see how quickly now Berryman can get onto the back of Simpson, who has managed to pull a little bit of a gap thanks to that squabbling. And same for Rasmussen. As a result of that, he's gained another tenth and a half or so, so he's within a second of Ilbrink now.
And to answer Michael's question on the chat, I don't believe Simpson has won a race so far this season. He's come close many a time, well, I think maybe a little bit frustrated with those kind of half opportunities that he's had. Maybe Imola in hindsight was a good opportunity with his 2 teammates having mistakes at some point in the race. And yes, so Simpson's still very much winless this season, despite leading plenty of laps, I'm sure. Road America was also another one, I think, where he was chasing down Ilbrink before putting it into the wall, as Ilbrink runs very wide himself. Is that going to leave him under pressure from Rasmussen? Here he goes. Has to go for the cutback, but instead he kind of just goes a lot of speed around the outside, and Nicholas Rasmussen's going to be able to pull alongside. Ilbrink, though, managed to pull ahead with this line in race 1 in these 2 duel, and once again Ilbrink easily pulls ahead, and despite that small mistake, he maintains 3rd place.
Yeah, good try from Rasmussen there. As you said, looked like he was going to maybe get himself into a strong position as they went into Valvoline Curve, but yeah, Ilbrink just able to carry that momentum around. But yeah, Rasmussen well and truly in the hunt now, got that bit of toe as well, so he should be able to pressure Ilbrink for the next lap or 2, and we'll see then if Ilbrink's able to just to raise that pace and break that gap. But yeah, Rasmussen, as we saw in race 1, yeah, he's got the pace. He felt confident around here. We didn't really see any errors from him at all, I don't think. Whereas we did see 1 or 2 just slight errors from Ilbrink race 1, as they both have to bounce up on that exit curb. These cars so hard, even that flat exit curb there onto the back straight, still looking like it was affecting the suspension affair on them.
Seems to say that second half of the lap, really from the kind of that first sweeping chicane, all the way down into that more tighter chicane. Really a good opportunity to use the slipstream. These drivers really getting close to one another through that part of the circuit, because certainly the Schumacher S's flat out section, pretty much 2 very long straights, 3 very long straights following one another, and that's allowed Rasmussen to get very close to it, but just having to stay behind at the moment. Bayman, that last lap, 0.2 of a second faster than Alex Simpson. So Simpson very strong out there, but doesn't look as though he's going to be able to hold back his teammate, and they're very much concentrated on winning the championship, so he doubts Simpson's going to put too much of a defence up against his teammates. And, well, of course, if they did, they would invite Ilbrink and Rasmussen into that lead fight, which they wouldn't want whatsoever. But it looks as though it's going to be another 1-2 for Apex Racing UK. And, well, they have had, I believe, 1-1-2-3 at Imola earlier on the season, but this will still be a decent achievement to absolutely start the championship. They may already have it mathematically, but still good to see them asserting their dominance even at this latter stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And when Simpson popped into the commentary booth in between races, he was suggesting that they think the title is wrapped up now thanks to the points that they got in race 1. So you never know. It might be that if Berryman gets onto the back of Simpson, maybe Simpson decides, well, do you know what, we haven't got any downsides if we do lose a position or two. So let's go at it. Maybe Simpson tries to put up a proper fight. It doesn't look like he's suffering with these hardware issues so far. So hopefully that holds out for him. And then, like I say, we'll see how that affects their decision as to what to do, as we see Berryman going that a little bit wider on the exit of Coca-Cola Curve there. Rasmussen has dropped back a bit again now, so yeah, Ilbrink managed to break that gap, that toe, fairly quickly, and now Rasmussen back to a second as Berryman closes 6/10 that last lap, so he's right on the gearbox now, Simpson.
Yeah, absolutely. The fastest driver on that last lap was actually Paul Ilbrink.
Oh, good spot.
And yeah, Simpson. Well, to be fair, it is bright purple, so I think hence why they decided to use that color. No offense to you, Lee, whatsoever.
Oh, here we
We
go.
have been around on this planet longer than myself. When did they start using purple in timing screens? Because I can't
Yeah,
remember a
don't
time
know.
before it.
No, I think for sure if you look back at some of I'm thinking got to be 90s stuff. I feel like they didn't have purple sectors with the graphics. Maybe quite mid 90s. I don't know. Maybe Samuli will pipe in as well as to let's see if he remembers anything. But no, like I say for sure. 2000s onwards, I'd say it's purple sectors, isn't it? It's become so synonymous with it. It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Somebody getting a purple sector, and most of the time people know what we're on about. But as you say, it's nice for us to use the same color scheme as well and keep that flow as Berryman's super quick through the back of the circuit, all over the back of Simpson again. Let's see if he has a look into NGK chicane. Simpson going to defend? He is. There we go. So it looks like maybe Simpson isn't going to just. It's the opposite. I'm so sad. I thought he was defending, but he was just moving offline to allow Berryman to cruise on by. So Berryman takes over the lead, given the position by Alex Simpson. And I guess Simpson wanted to make sure, he wasn't going to lose any more time to Ilbrink than he needed. 1.5 seconds back to Paul in third there.
Yeah, if you listen
So sad.
quietly, if you listen kind of carefully, you can hear the boos from the crowds here at Nurburgring. Of course, notoriously low crowds, it must be said, hence why they can't quite have a race every season around here. I must say, in the Formula One, of course, I must say, when you look at the past few Nurburgring races, despite it being very much an unorthodox circuit, a circuit that not many people like, if you look at what the last kind of 5 or so, they have been absolutely stunning races, one after the other. And yeah, very unique to have a circuit which has such a great hit rate. You got to think back to maybe Canada or something like that, which consistently produces such fantastic races. As Bowman very much just pulling away from his, of course, Marcus Winkelhock, the legendary driver for Spiker, led here in 2007. And of course had that race win cruelly taken away from him due to the fact that they deployed the safety car when he was about half a minute ahead of everyone else on the circuit. So Ilbrink now the one pressurising Simpson after Simpson was overtaken by Bayman. And well, he's just waltzing up to the back of him already within the slipstream zone, and he's going to be right onto the back of him by the time they cross the start-finish line, I think.
Yeah, like I say, Ilbrink, 2 purple sectors so far on this lap, right on the gearbox. Now Simpson gained a lot of time through the chicane, and we had a great view as the car's bouncing over the inside curb of NGK chicane. This car's struggling. What kind of run is Ilbrink going to get out of here? I think Simpson's going to need to defend if he wants to hold that position. He starts to move across towards the middle of the circuit. Ilbrink follows. Simpson goes right to the very inside, forces Ilbrink round the outside. How late on the brakes is Ilbrink going to be? He's going to not go for a cutback, going to try and sweep round the outside, but Ilbrink just keeping his nose in there. Simpson gives them a car and a half's width as they go around turn 2. Simpson's got a good drive initially off the corner. If he can hold that outside line now, then he'll have the inside for Ford curve. And yeah, in fact, holds that position a little bit earlier, drives off front. Ilbrink not got enough momentum to have a move into Valvoline 4 here.
these two have been really evenly matched throughout the season, particularly the start of the season. Looked as though it was going to be the duel of the championship. Hasn't really manifested like that, but it's good to see these two back side by side like this. And well, this is what I was talking about earlier on, the fact that once you kind of get out of this corner, you've got probably about 20 seconds of flat out, because this Schumacher S with these low powered, high downforce F3 cars is easy flat. You can see how that slipstream effect is really taking effect now. Goes to the outside. Over the bridge they go. Trying to go all the way around the outside there. It was Ilbring carrying a lot of speed. And once again, this second straight now where maybe he can really consolidate the move. Only 1/10 of a second between the two of them. It's a much less than that now as Ilbring pulls ahead. Simpson has the ideal line though. This would be an epic move from Ilbring if he went for this. But does the wise thing. Stays behind and now makes a mistake. Just he didn't take too much curb there. He just hit the bump there on the circuit Lee in a slightly unusual way, and that really unstuck the car.
Yeah, so I've been commenting a couple of times on how much the cars are reacting over that curb, and as you say, it just didn't connect quite right that time by. We saw Real Brink have a similar error in race 1 as well, where again it looked like he easily could have lost control but gathered it up nicely. And again, same as A, he didn't lose too much time as he's overcooks the rears coming out of turn 1. He might struggle now through this next sector. Those rear tyres on this sensitive tyre model, we see a little wiggle again, are overheated, and so now Rasmussen's got a good opportunity off this next corner. I don't think Ilbrink will get a very good drive out here. So let's see how Rasmussen gets on as they now sweep down towards Valvoline and Ford again.
Yeah, it almost seems to be a bit of a yo-yo effect currently with Ilbrink going to catch up Simpson, almost passing and then dropping back into the clutches of Rasmussen. I imagine it will once again be able to establish a little bit of a lead between himself and the NHR Esports driver, and then go after the Englishman just ahead again. But these three now separated by 1.4 seconds. So I could see these guys battling it out. Of course, Josh Rayfield is not in the race, unfortunately. He retired 2 laps into the event and has now disconnected from the session as well. So it is just these 4 out here, dueling it out for this second, third, and fourth, with Bayman now 4 seconds up the road, out in the lead. Not quite matching his lap times from race 1, but he was hitting some 46s, just in the high 47s currently, but that's due to the slightly warmer track temperature, which I say slightly warm, it's up to 36 degrees all of a sudden. It's gone up 12 degrees in the first, what, 10, in the last 15 minutes or so. And well, that's going to make a drastic difference, and the drivers may not necessarily know that the grip has changed in that way.
Yeah, and Rasmussen looking like maybe he's the one that feels a little bit more confident in these conditions. He's closed right not only onto the back of Ilbrink, but also onto Simpson now as well. So yeah, 3-car battle for P2 whilst Berryman waltzes away into the distance 5 seconds down the road. A little bit of a twitch again there on exit from Ilbrink, so he's still just struggling with the rear of the car. How are your eagle eyes feeling today, Sam? Are you seeing any difference between the rear wings of Ilbrink and Rasmussen in particular? Because it seems like Ilbrink's maybe had the slightly twitchier rear of the car this evening.
Yeah, well, usually, as Ilbrink goes wide, is that going to leave him vulnerable? I'd almost, I don't know, I don't even trust my my eyesight anymore after the drivers consistently proved me wrong, saying, oh, well, we were running a skinny rear wing, but we were running every bit of downforce elsewhere on the car, which kind of invalidates the point. But, well, they all seem relatively even, let's say. And, well, from what we've seen with the battling out there, it doesn't seem like any driver really has a massive advantage down the straights. So here is Ilbrink then. So once again trying to attack Simpson after dropping off Rasmussen. These three now separated by 1 second between the three of them. Here comes Ilbrink. Simpson will go to the inside. Almost a car's width on the inside there for Ilbrink. He's going to try to muscle his way round the outside here. Paul Ilbrink, contact between the two of them. Wheel-to-wheel contact as Rasmussen will nip down the inside as well. Good opportunistic driving there. And he might even try to have a go at the radicals and line driver as well. But Simpson, decent run out of the Coca-Cola curb. He's gone from first to fourth in just a handful of laps as they all close in on one another. These three separated by 0.4 of a second now. Simpson goes down the inside. Rasmussen almost a little bit boxed in. He'll try to go round the outside, but it's going to be very difficult for him. Much longer part of the circuit. Rasmussen keeps his nose in. They might just have an opportunity down the inside into this next one. But to the Mercedes arena, nice driving there from Simpson to at least stay on the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. On the podium for now, on my screen, I'm seeing a little bit of damage front right of this wing now as a result of that contact between Simpson and Ilbrink. So we'll see, one, if that is real damage or just a bit of phantom damage, and two, how much that affects Alex as he goes very, very wide onto the exit of forward curve there, clatters over the curb and loses a little bit of momentum, but didn't cost him too much in the end. Rasmussen a little bit deep going into Dunlop curve there.
Yeah, of course, we've seen so far this season, particularly at Donington, where we had a few drivers making kind of side pod damage, a side pod contact, and that really cost them about a second a lap for the rest of the race. So hopefully, neither Ilbrink nor Simpson have anything like that affecting them. This will give us a decent impression if Rasmussen can really close in on these drivers, but no, staying very much static, maybe gaining a tenth down this straight in the situation, but nothing spectacular. Even getting into the rev limiter there. And no opportunity for Rasmussen. It's so difficult for these drivers to stay committed to that chicane because the car just seems to get unsettled every single time.
Yeah, as you say, it's an area that looks like if you hook it up right, you can make a big difference. I saw how in race one, Berryman just drove past Ilbrink practically. Sorry, not race one. Earlier in this race, we saw how Berryman practically drove past Ilbrink just on that short little run there. So it's certainly an opportunity to get some good traction, but yeah, very, very tricky if it just crosses that knife edge as we've seen from two or three of the guys now. Yeah, onboard shots there, very nice. Watching Rasmussen work his way through the first half of the circuit. This is a good battle flowing through. We're 20 minutes into the 30-minute race, and we've got just a whisper over a second between second, third, fourth. I don't think we're going to ask for much more from the guys for that sort of display there. Doesn't look so far like this little bit of front wing damage is causing Simpson too many problems. He's almost just closing ever so slightly back on the Ilbrink again in this lap. He was 10th quicker in sector 1 this time by, so yeah, looking all right.
Yeah, not too bad for Simpson out there. Yeah, 8/10 of a second, so he has just dropped out of that slipstream range, so he's got to, if he's going to close the gap, he's got to do it very much out of talent rather than
All wide on the exit corner,
physics.
Simpson trying to kick
Yes.
up the gravel.
Yeah, 6/10 of a second now between third and fourth. No instant limit for these drivers. This circuit can be quite difficult with the instants. Seem to remember a pro driver in or a pro team having to run the last 1.5 hours of a race with 2 incidents in a Blancpain endurance race when their teammate gave them the car. And had 25 in the first 1.5 hours, managed to get 2 in the second 1.5 hours. So very difficult, particularly through this Mercedes arena. Turn 3, very much an advantage to take a little bit of kind of off-roading on the inside of the corner. This is what I'm talking about. You can kind of get your all 4 wheels right on the curb there. And normally that would give you a 1x, but of course these drivers won't be caring too much about that. Rasmussen just struggling to do that part of the circuit, in fact, struggling to really hitch up that line. And it's just costing him a little bit too much at the moment. It'll be certainly establishing that second position right now. So it looks like it's just going to be a battle for the last 7.5 minutes. So he's going to be on the final step of the rostrum.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, not a huge amount of time left now for these guys to make much more of a difference. But as you say, Simpson not quite keeping with the pace now in this last lap or so. Yeah, so that little bit of damage maybe is starting to just gradually take effect. Rasmussen looking pretty racy into turn 1 last time by, so if he can get himself into position through this section of the circuit, then perhaps that's where he's going to be concentrating on making a move. And then it'll be interesting to see how Simpson does in the toe and whether he really can come back at him or not. You'd think the damage maybe is going to cause them a little bit of a problem in the dirty air, but let's see how they go through the final corner now. What sort of position is Rasmussen going to be as we come out of it, as they work their way through Coca-Cola curve? Good bit of curve from both of them on there. Looks pretty clean, and Rasmussen is not closing quick enough to be challenging into turn one. Yeah,
No,
in
yeah.
fact, a fair bit further back this time.
Yeah, he didn't really make up any time to the chicane, saving maintain that kind of 0.6 of a second gap, just bringing it down to 0.5 of a second now. So yeah, just very much small margins for Nicholas Rasmussen. So I've already said today, very much a calculated driver. He isn't going to get involved in any crashes out there, which has very much yielded a very successful championship for him. If he wants to get this third position, he's going to have to be that little bit more aggressive. In the gap down to 0.4 of a second. This is pretty much as close as he's been on this part of the circuit, using that toe effectively, gaining just 0.1 of a second down that straight. And track temperature continue to rise up to 37 degrees, so really slipping for the drivers right now, as Rasmussen lines himself up for perhaps a move over the bridge. Simpson goes defensive. Rasmussen might just have too much momentum for him to defend, but running wide, there's Rasmussen didn't quite need to leave so much space. But after being 0.6 of a second behind for the last couple of laps at this point on the circuit, this time he's only 0.2 of a second behind. Slipstream taking effect. Simpson always defends very well into this chicane, with Rasmussen going off the circuit. Almost contact between the two of them. Nowhere for Simpson to go. And Nicholas Rasmussen with his wheels on the grass. That was a fantastic move. A bit over aggressive, you could argue, I guess, Lee. But there was kind of the gap down there, and he kept his foot in.
Yeah, from my view, cracking bit of racing. I wouldn't say that crossed the line as being too aggressive. But again, it'd be interesting to have a look back when this settles down and Samuli right on cue brings up the replay. So let's have a look then and just see if I'm going to change my mind. We've got Rasmussen in the toe, like you said, closing. He decides really early, I'm taking it inside. Alex comes it off first, good defending, but Rasmussen just forces his way straight by on the limiter again, like you commented before. Not quite any contact between their wheels there, it didn't look like. Cracking move, great job. Simpson defended early, didn't react to Rasmussen moving across. Thought he had that covered, I bet he thought he had covered off enough space, and Rasmussen just decided, no, that's where I'm getting by. Felt a bit, could have gone wrong, of course. Does that remind me a little bit of what Hamilton Rosberg, 2 years ago, Barcelona, where Rosberg covers off the inside and Hamilton just tried to, or vice versa, tried to push up the inside anyway. But this time worked out lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, of course, Monza 2011 with Vettel overtaking Alonso, and on the grass through Curva Grande. Of course, not quite as dramatic that moment, considering that it was on like lap 5 of the race, and really Vettel could have waited till any part of the circuit to overtake him. But
that sums up Vettel's ability of racecraft, I think.
Yes. Another spin. It's quite comical, but he's a superb driver, one of the best drivers of all time, and it is maybe a bit unfair, but at the same time it is quite incredible. 4 spins in 10 races, I believe it is. Just that ratio is quite outstanding. But, well, certainly these guys haven't been making any of those mistakes so far today. Rasmussen just extending that lead a little bit up to 0.8 of a second. As I say that, actually, Simpson manages to take about 1/4 of a second out of Rasmussen just on the brakes into that turn one, trying to stay in touch. But certainly looking good for Nicholas Rasmussen. We've got 2 more minutes to go, so we'll complete this one, and then we'll have 1 more lap after that.
Yeah, Simpson very, very wide in the background. They're just running out of road a little bit as he desperately tries to hang on in the draft and maybe give himself a last gasp effort to get himself back onto that podium spot. I fear it's going to be just a stretch too far as Rasmussen's gradually creeping that gap out to 9/10 now as they head through the hairpin. Cracking race from these guys. Race 1, we had a good start. and then we really had to, unfortunately entertain ourselves with talking nonsense for the rest of the time. I was quite surprised a second ago when, like I say, look up and see 27 minutes gone by. So good job from him. Peter Berryman on track. We've not really seen him through most of the race. We see he's still pushing hard though. Kicked up a little bit of gravel on the exit of the previous corner there, so he is still pushing on. And of course, it's an easy thing to do. Just you take your eye off the ball, you back off a little bit, and mistakes creep in. So Berryman absolutely trying to stay on it, make sure he stays focused and gets the result that he deserves. So we're going to get one more lap in now as Berryman crosses the line for the penultimate time, entering turn one. Ilbrink half a straight behind, and then Rasmussen and Simpson, 1.14 behind is Simpson now. So that battle looks like it's done, and we've not seen errors from Rasmussen really all night. So you would say it's unlikely for Rasmussen to hand Simpson that podium now.
I think at the end of this one we can crown Peter Bayman as champion. He's going to have a big enough lead in the championship. Of course, Apex Racing UK already taking the team's championship, and so it will be the double for them. Peter Bayman very much steering that championship towards Apex Racing UK. Of course, it's well, I say it hasn't been plain sailing. It's pretty much been plain sailing for the entire season, apart from maybe round one where he had a crash in race 2. Allow Kevin S Jr. to take an initial lead in the championship. Took Bayman a couple of rounds to take back the championship lead. Of course, always superb in qualifying, always seemed to be the fastest driver out there, even in comparison to his teammates in the extremely competitive field. And really, since the midpoint of the season, it's certainly been his to lose. Maybe a couple of mistakes at Donington and a couple of other circuits, but when it's come to Peter Bayman has been on top form, and he's going to approach the final corner here, and he is going to win race 2 at Nurburgring, and he's also going to become the World F3 champion. Peter Bayman is your champion, and what was a superb series put together from him. And Apex Racing UK also the team's champion, of course, with 1 round to spare. Paul Ilbrink will finish in second position in this one, with Nicholas Rasmussen a strong third ahead of Alex Simpson.
Yeah, cracking race from the guys. Like I say, that was entertaining. Good circuit for the cars to negotiate. So it looked like really the only place that the guys struggled repeatedly was that final chicane, NGK. Otherwise, it looked like a fair less of a struggle, even in these hot conditions, like you pointed out, Sam. Hot race 2, and generally the guys looked fairly planted. And like I said, I was glad to see it wasn't like a couple of races where it was just such an effort even to keep the car pointed in a straight line. So yeah, congratulations again, like you say, to Berryman. Good strong result from Ilbrink in second. Rasmussen, cracking job all night long. He looked right on the pace, getting that podium position. And again, shout out to Josh Rayfield. He continued round. Lonely race for him without anyone to really keep him company. But yeah, unfortunately retired fairly early on in race 2.
Yes, so another good meeting in the World F3 Championship. And the drivers will just pull back into the pit. So we will go through the final results. And yeah, Bayman winning out here, winning the championship as well. 8 seconds clear of Paul Ilbrink by the end. Nicholas Rasmussen rounding out the podium with Alex Simpson in 4th. And Josh Rayfield was 16 laps down after retiring just a couple of laps into the event. Should have a couple of interviews with drivers. And yes, we are, I bet. So you are... only 4 drivers finishing the race, but we've already got 3 drivers in the commentary waiting booth.
Peter Berryman letting the side down.
Yes, I must say. He's our champion. He should be chatting with us. We'll first have a chat with, I think, Paul Ilbrink here. And Paul, really well done there. 2 second positions. Peter just a little bit too fast, but at least you had some nice battles with Nicholas there.
Yeah. Bit gutted that Peter took my fastest lap and last lap of the race, but it was fun.
Absolutely. How did you find the circuit out here? I guess you got a bit of experience in the World Championship Series. in the GT series and the single seater series. So yeah, is this one that you enjoy?
Yeah, the driving is quite fun. It's a bit sketchy at the start when the tires are not quite in working condition, but it was like sliding all over the place in the first 2 laps, pretty much of each race stint. But other than that, it has a nice flow and it's a nice driver circuit, I think, especially in these cars.
In race 2, we saw the track temperature raising from about 23 degrees to 35 degrees in the space of about 5 minutes, seemingly as the sun came out. Did you notice that at all in the car? Did you notice the grip levels dropping slightly in race 2?
Uh, just notices mainly on the lap times, I think. I didn't notice that much of a difference in like the driving itself, but yeah, it made it interesting to get a bit of different weather compared to the first race as well. So this was good, I think.
Absolutely, and of course, one more round of the championship to go. Will we be seeing you there? And I guess you'll be hoping for a good round up to the championship, maybe claiming a race victory there.
Yeah, sure. I signed up for the championship, so I intend to finish all the races as well. So I'll certainly be back next week.
Absolutely fantastic. Been great to watch you up there today, Paul. And before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Everybody at Radicals Online team and our partners, sponsors, Grandfield Simulations, Gel Real Timing, Arma Centrum, Motef Podcasts, Turn Racing's Immortal, Six Sideways, and Pixel Dust for the nice.
Thanks, Paul, and we'll see you next week.
See you.
Next up, who do you fancy having a chat with, Lee, for our next interview?
Let's have a chat with the boss, shall we? Let's bring Simpson in.
Guess we have to.
Evening, Alex, speaking to you again after popping in between races. Didn't quite manage to hang on to the podium on that one. Didn't look like maybe the hardware was holding you back too much towards the beginning of a race, but is that what ultimately caused you just to fall back?
No, it was fine at the start. I had a couple of times. It's just on the straights, which is the most frustrating point ever to happen. You just sit there and you're just revving the car out, and you're losing half a second here and there. So, but yeah. In the battles that I had, I didn't have any issues, so I can't blame that for losing the places. It's just just giving up a bit of time here and there. So, but yeah, I enjoyed that second race. When there's something to race for, it's a bit more fun. But of course, in that first race when I got the issues and then the slowdown straight after that because I couldn't downshift, I just sort of shut up shop really and just sort of brought it home. The idea of tonight really was to turn up and put the basically put the final bits together in terms of the team championships for the points. I'm pretty sure it's done and dusted now, locked in. Even though we can't drop the final week, I don't think we actually need to turn up for that one, which would, I'll be there, but I'm pretty sure it's done now. So I'm not sure. I'll have to check drop weeks and stuff like that for Peter as well, but he may have the Drivers' Championships as well with drop weeks counting because he's got a 0-point drop, I think. Drop the final week again, so yeah. Just a bit frustrating in the end of the season. We're down to 5 cars, That's all I can really say. So, we still had some good racing out there, but it just seems to be a particular thing in terms of open wheel on iRacing at the moment. Really struggling to keep any participation. I mean, I do understand this is an absolute dog of a car to drive and to set up, and it's not a great deal of fun, to be fair. So I'm not surprised we lost the participation, but I still thought the racing was quite good at the start of the season. So yeah, I was a bit surprised that people didn't stick around, just at least for the racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, so it is a real shame, and we're super grateful for the 5, 6, 7 cars that have been turning up towards the end of the season. Because as you said, for even in the end of the season, we've seen some good racing. Race 1 was a bit of the snooze fest, unfortunately, tonight. Race 2 though, cracking. We got to 27 minutes, and it's good. I got to 27 minutes, and I kind of went, oh, we've got a minute left, sort of thing. So it's cracking. And on that note of good racing, old Nicholas Rasmussen, cracking move around the outside. of Advan to shove his nose up the inside of NGK. I was saying on commentary, I bet you thought you had that covered off on the inside.
Well, I did think I had it covered, but then the minute I saw him jink to the left, I was like, crap, we're gonna crash. So I was like, well, I'll just stay straight and I will not do anything stupid. So yeah, it was kind of one of those air and center style moves. It was like, let me come through or die. So, but no, it's fine. It was all fair. Yeah, it was all fair. I could have been like, so many racers that I race on this service would have just been pure stubborn there and just gone, no, I'm turning in. Sod ya,
Yeah.
And it just got in there. But, I was like, well, no, I need the points. I don't want to be 2 laps down or anything like that. I need the points for the team. So I just moved out of it and, let him have it and thought, well, if I can fight back, which I couldn't. Yeah, it was too quick for me today. I'd have another go at it. But no, all credit to him. And like I say, the move Paul did on the other side, So I was defended it the previous lap, but then went around there. And how we actually got through there 2 wide, I don't think I've ever seen anyone go through there 2 wide. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I don't know if you felt it then after that, but you were showing on our screens at least a little bit of right front wing damage.
Oh, it's all Paul's fault.
Yeah, so it was, as you say, just the slightest of contacts, fortunately. Just before you go, Alex, of course, a big weekend coming up, not just for Apex Racing team, but also for perhaps iRacing as a service in general. The Porsche Esports Super Cup first round of the week on Saturday. Quick soundbite on your thoughts for the season?
I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, obviously, massive opportunity for the guys involved. iRacing as well. Good to see Porsche, of course, getting involved and sort of pushing esports in sim racing forward. This is what we want. This is what we've been trying to achieve sort of many years. This has been kind of like the sort of the dreams that we get big manufacturers get involved in it, and they don't get much bigger than Porsche. So yeah, the guys are pretty confident. Pace looking pretty good in like the test race and stuff like that. Not much practice gone on for that, of course. A few people missing, so yeah, I'm just I'm really looking forward to it. And more than anything, I'm just looking forward to watching it and enjoying it, and not have to worry about practicing and competing myself.
Excellent. And on the note of watching it, viewers of Apex Racing TV are advised to check out our Twitch channel Saturday afternoon, somewhere around 1500 BST, I would say, to catch onboard coverage of the Apex Racing team running in the Porsche Esports Super Cup series, and you may even get to listen in on a bit of Discord chatter as well between drivers and spotters, possibly. So that would be good to look forward to.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Yes, absolutely. I've got I still have my command that I set up from Neo of a disclaimer in there, I reckon. So you want to run through your thanks, Alex, before we move on to Nicholas?
Yeah, well, to you guys, obviously, for broadcasting the season to date, to Matt and the admins for putting the series on. Like I say, it's a shame how it's ending up here at that with one race to go, but still, it's been a good series. To Peter, Kevin, my teammates as well. Peter for doing the setup this week as well, and then to the sponsors as well. So Social Proof and Immortal for the series, and then of course for the sponsors that are on this car for this series, we're serious SDK Gaming, Computers PC Systems, and we still have Leo Bodmer and JCL Sim Racing on this one.
Great, excellent. Thank you very much, Alex. We look forward to seeing you next week. Best you can do to twist the arm of Peter and Kevin just to keep the numbers up for next week. Final race of the season would be much obliged as well. Thank you, sir.
I'll see what I can do.
Cheers, we'll see you. Right, and Sam, so to finish off, we'll move on to Nicholas Rasmussen patiently waiting whilst I spent far too long talking to Alex there.
Yes, well, I think you can blame it on Alex talking fast.
Yes, that was quite a speech he went through at the start, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, he's gone now, so of course we can say that. Nicholas, well done out there. 2 podiums today, and some fantastic battling as well. Of course, we've already talked about the great battling you've had with Paul so far this season, but also with Alex as well. Still must be quite good fun out there.
Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, these guys are super talented, and well, you can really take it to the limit with these guys, and that's what makes this series fun. The car's quite tricky to drive, especially for me this week here. I don't know really what it's been, but I could get the car set up for qualifying, like really sharpened up, but I couldn't make it work over race distance. It was good fun. I lacked pace, but I tried to keep up the best I could, and well, at least I got 2 podiums out of it. So I'm pretty happy with that, all things considered.
Absolutely. Just take us through that move you made on Simpson with a couple of laps to go in race 2, where you were off the circuit, it must be said. Me and Lee were massively impressed by the guts that you showed to go for that move. And it was possibly the only way you could really get past, it must be said, because you kind of looked at the other methods of overtaking, but, well, you absolutely made that one stick.
Yeah, I really struggled in the second race with the car. Couldn't get it to work, especially in slow speed corners. I just didn't really have the grip. Especially when I was behind other cars, the dirty air really messed me up. I knew Alex was gonna try and close the door there, and it was one of my only shots. I actually set up the move all the way down in the I can't remember what the 180 corner is called before the Schumacher S's, but I ran wide there on purpose to get good straight line speed, and I mean, it was the only. I think it was the only way I could get past him, and obviously Alex, I know I can trust him. I probably wouldn't have pulled a move like that on many other drivers, to be honest. But yeah, it was exciting, and yeah, it felt pretty good, to be honest. But yeah, got past and got the third place, which I obviously wanted. That was the goal of the race, so I'm happy with that.
Absolutely. Next week we head for the finale in the championship, which is at Alton Park. Is that one that you got much experience around? I imagine a circuit where maybe you haven't put so many laps in.
I put some laps in season 1, and I could, like in season 1 of official racing, and I could not get around there to save my life. So yeah, it should be an exciting one. Hopefully we can make a good setup and get some good races and finish off this championship well. We will see what happens, but I'm gonna push for it as I always have, and I'm trying to see if I can. Maybe would be nice to get a win, but I think that's a bit optimistic. But at least finish up with a podium finish like here today. So we'll see.
I'll certainly be rooting for you on that one, Nicholas. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Thanks to the guys who showed up to race today. That was brilliant. Gotta thank the league organizers for getting all of this together. As always, massive job by them. Thank you guys for the broadcast, the sponsors of the league, and our team sponsors: Cranfield Simulation, Newman Racing, and Extreme Gameware. And we'll look forward to see you guys next week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nicholas, and see you then.
See you then.
Well, I think that pretty much rounds us off for the evening. But Lee, like you've already said before, that race 2 in particular kept us guessing all the way right to the checkered flag, and just shows, even though we only have 4 drivers up there, it's very much quality over quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I felt like that for the last few weeks, really. As I said, we could have had a real struggle for the last month of the season. But yeah, like I say, it only takes 2 to make a race, and we've had 4 or 5 battling away. So it's been good, and we really appreciate the guys who have stuck around driving this car. Like I say, it's been tricky for them, but there's good racing out there. So exactly as Alex said, it's a shame the grid fell away so much, but equally the series and the broadcasters and the viewers hopefully are super pleased that the guys who have stuck around have been racing. Alton Park, as you said, next week, Sam, international circuit. How is your Alton Park knowledge? Which version of the track is that, sir? Do you know?
Longer one, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, I reckon that sounds good. It obviously makes sense for this car. Alton Park, cracking circuit. That's got to be right up there with one of my favourites. It's one of those where you can get into the rhythm of it, and you can really hook it up. Maybe it's not going to be, it's a narrow circuit compared to somewhere like Nurburgring GP. So I wonder how the guys are going to do with actually battling and making moves and making overtakes. But it's going to be fast and frantic for the guys around Alton Park.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be a fantastic season finale. Only one more round to go in the World F3 Championship. And that will certainly be fantastic on Wednesday. Coming up on Apex Racing TV tomorrow, we've got the BSRTC Pro Series Round 2 from, quickly try to rack my brains. Cannot actually think where
Yeah,
it
not sure, sorry.
is. As I now look.
Carry on and I'll bring it up for you in a sec.
Yes, awesome. I am league organizer, so I
Okay,
kind of
I'll leave
ought
it to
to
you then.
know where it is, but we will gloss over that. Then we won't have anything on the weekend apart from, of course, the team stream. What? So
Road
Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Yes, yes. That's that's what I meant. Red Atlanta for tomorrow's PSRTC.
No, my bad. Mosport. I'm sorry,
Oh,
Mosport.
most sport. Well, that's what I meant.
Road Atlanta
you know?
following week.
Yeah, most sport. I was thinking Red Atlanta. I posted a picture of it actually. I think it can't possibly be Red Atlanta, but it is Moss Sports, which also has. I was looking earlier on a corner named Moss. I do not believe it's named after Sir Sterling Moss though.
Oh, do you know what? I have a tingling that it is.
Oh, is it?
And it had actually some connection to him. I feel like it's either a corner that he said he hated or he said he loved, or I don't know. I might be making all of it up, but I think if somebody cares and goes does the research, I think it is actually named after Sterling Moss. I'm pretty sure I have that memory of the story there.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, this outro has certainly taken longer than expected, so I'll try to get through it. Weekend, we haven't got anything on Apex Racing TV. On Monday, we'll have the Mazdas and also the World GT Championship as well, the penultimate round of that. And then on Tuesday, we'll also have the Mazdas and the Big Mid-Tech Sports Car Series as well early in the morning on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we'll have the iRacing Le Mans Series. And of course, the season finale of the World F3 Championship. So from me, from Lee, and from
Sorry,
Sam.
just before we wrap up, I'm very, very sorry. Over the weekend, Sam quite rightly said that there was no racing because there was nothing listed in our schedule. However, Saturday afternoon, as I mentioned with Alex, you should be able to watch on our Twitch channel, Apex Racing TV is the channel name, the onboard coverage of Apex Racing team fighting out in the very first round of the Esports Porsche Super Cup. That way around, not Porsche Esports Super Cup. And also, we may have a sneaky race on Saturday afternoon as well, broadcasted on YouTube, to be confirmed from the guys from the podcast Dinners with Racers. Fun bunch of guys watching some of their videos earlier on, and they have some interesting car and track combinations, as you may see if we get this organised in time. So keep an eye out for that popping up on your Apex Racing TV YouTube schedule. Sorry, Sam.
No problem whatsoever. And that pretty much rounds us off. So from me, from Lee, and from Sam as well, we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.